Hey y'all, it's Whitney Janice. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, it's going to be another story time. It's a continuation of my first story time, 16 and Pregnant, How I Survived. If you're interested in that story time, go ahead and check that one out first before you watch this one. I can go ahead and link that below. I want to thank everybody who subscribed to my channel, and for everyone who is supporting me. I want to thank you guys also for giving me feedback. It seems like you all are interested in my life story and just knowing my journey and getting to know me a little bit. So I don't mind sharing my stories with y'all. This story, like I said, takes place after my 16 and pregnant story. This will be the next phase of my life. I kind of gave you guys a prelude into what the rest of my life to today looks like. I'm going to go back and I'm going to fill in the gaps a little bit so we can keep this story time going. If you like story times with me, you want to see more, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my uploads. And yeah, thank you for being here. I'm thinking about starting a new series called Whitney Wednesdays, where every Wednesday we have a story time. So yeah, just stay tuned. This story takes place after I've already been in Illinois. So I moved back to Illinois. I finished my high school diploma and I enrolled in college. So I went to the community college. I was staying with my grandparents and I did my fall semester followed by my spring semester. During that time, I was still working full-time, still have my daughter, and now I'm making money. So I've got a full-time job as well as just saving money from my financial aid refunds that I would get every semester, and I was just stacking that money up. So I'm going to give you guys some background, as well as I'm going to talk about two guys in this story time, and I feel like it would be an injustice to not mention them because it is part of my story. I'm not going to name names, so you're not going to be able to look them up online or anything like that. And yeah, so I'm going to bring them up, but I have no contact with them whatsoever. Haven't seen them in years. Haven't talked to them in years, and I just don't know what's going on with their lives, which concerns me none. I'm married. I've been happily married for 4 years, and yeah, so I'm gonna try to do my best to tell y'all this story, but also respect my marriage and my husband. So yeah. At that time, I was in a long-distance relationship with a guy that I had met my sophomore year of high school. We had been in a long-distance relationship for, I believe, 5 years before it ended, 4 or 5 years. But he lived in Atlanta. I lived in Columbus. It's only about an hour and a half, but when you are a teenager and you don't have a car and you can't drive, it's a long-distance relationship. So we communicated over the phone, pretty much text, talking, pictures, MySpace and things like that. So yeah, we communicated and we did that for a couple years. So I found out that I was pregnant. I told him that I was pregnant. I told him that, you know, obviously I had been with this other guy. Also, he had been with other girls that I had found out later after the fact. But yeah, so I declined to have an abortion because he wanted me to have an abortion. I told him no. He offered to pay for it and everything. I was like, I can't do that. I don't believe in abortion, and I'm not going to kill my child. That's not for me. So we lost contact. Later in my pregnancy, we reconnected, and he decided he wanted to continue to pursue the long distance relationship. So my daughter was born in Illinois. He would visit me in Illinois, and I would visit him in Georgia. So he was away at Job Corps, and on his winter breaks, that's when I would go visit him and when he would come visit me. So one of the visits to Illinois, he expressed that he wanted to marry me. He met my whole family, my friends, and everybody approved of him. He was a good guy. He wanted to fulfill like just that husband role and the stepdad role. I was apprehensive. I really cared about him, but I just didn't want to move back to Georgia. He didn't seem like he was fully stable and able to take care of me and my daughter the way my grandparents were supporting us. So yeah, I was very emotionally attached to this person and very dependent on this relationship. I was also in communication with my daughter's biological dad at that time. He also was communicating with me regularly. We kept in contact pretty much the whole time. We never lost contact. I tried to keep him updated as well as send him pictures of our daughter, let him know what was going on. He expressed to me that he wanted me to move back to Georgia to give him a chance to be a dad. We were 10 hours away from each other at the time, so I understood where he was coming from, but I just didn't trust him because I was 16 and pregnant. He left me before. Why wouldn't he leave me again? So his character just proved to be someone who's not going to be dependable. So yeah. Let's go to the next page. I knew he was the guy that was not going to be faithful. I'll just say that. He was the guy that had multiple women. He slept around a lot. He even ended up getting another girl pregnant and had a son by her. He was just that guy for me. That was not good for me. Despite my intuition, which knew he wasn't going to be a good guy, he had the upper hand because it seemed like we had this other different connection because I had given birth to his daughter. My whole life as a little girl, I just dreamed of getting married and having kids all by the same person, raising a family in the same house, those sorts of things that I didn't have when I was growing up. So even though I knew he was seeing lots of other women and he had this girl pregnant, I saved up my financial aid refund and my money. And that summer break, I let my family know that I wanted to move back to Georgia. So they were just content with me finishing high school. They thought that was the end, and they were just happy that I finished that and they could help me do that. So they moved me back to Georgia. Everybody came and helped me move into my apartment. It's safe to say that this apartment was in the hood, y'all. It was like in the worst neighborhood in the town, and it had roaches and it was tiny and it was just really bad. But I didn't really care because I felt independent and I have my own place to live now, and I thought like, okay, we're making progress here. So I didn't really care. But I moved to the town where my mom lived, and I knew that my mom would always be there to help. So that's why I moved by her and not closer to my boyfriend or not closer to my daughter's dad. They were both about an equal distance away from me. So a few days later, my daughter's dad moves in. He was homeless. I found out that he was living with his son's mother and her mother. So they all were living together as long as like the son's mother's brothers. So they all lived in this house together. Altercations were happening. He got kicked out. They were no longer together to my knowledge. He had nothing to offer me. He had no job, no transportation. He was living off of me. He was not being faithful. He just had nothing to offer, y'all. And he wasn't like trying to get to better himself. Like I would encourage him to go get applications. He wouldn't do them. Things like that. So I got accepted to Mercer University, and it was just way too expensive. It was way more expensive than going to community college, and I couldn't afford it. So I ended up missing out on that school year. I sat out that semester. Now I'm working full-time at Panera Bread. So that was my full-time job. Like I would just go to work every day while he stayed at home. He would drop me off at work, keep my phone, keep my car so I can get in contact with my daughter, and he had a way to get around, you know, for job stuff, transportation, if an emergency happened, things like that. But that's not what he was using it for. I knew he was emotionally connected and loved his other son's mother, and I found out that he was taking my car, parking it at a gas station, and going to walk with my daughter in the Georgia heat in the summertime to go see his son's mom. So she didn't know like how he would get there and my car and things like that. So it was just a chaotic mess. Yeah, so one day I came home and there was an app on my phone. It was a diet app. And as I'm looking through my phone, I'm like, why is this diet app on here? If you know my daughter's dad, he's very skinny, very in shape. And I just didn't understand why it was on there, but I didn't think anything else of it. I asked him and he just laughed it off, and I left it at that. In the meantime, I was steadily, consistently trying to get in contact with my boyfriend and let him know what was going on in the situation. For whatever reason, I was not receiving his text messages or his calls, so I just assumed he had blocked me, and I left it at that. Well, things don't work out between myself and my daughter's biological dad. One day I go get my hair done. I wasn't satisfied with my hair, so I go back and get it done. My girlfriend and we decided to have a girls' day. So we go to get our hair done, our nails, toes. We go out to eat, and we walk around the mall and do a little shopping and things like that. Just having a girls' day. right? So when I get home, it's super late, it's dark outside. He gets jealous, he accuses me of cheating on him and being with my boyfriend. Well, he had my phone, so there was no way I could get in contact with my boyfriend any other way. And in fact, he knew I was going with my best friend. Anyways, I didn't understand why he was super jealous and just coming at me from the time I walked in the door, calling me names and things like that. So I'm not going to go into the details of this incident and the altercation that took place. I will just say that there was a noise disturbance and the neighbors heard me yelling for help, and they are the ones that contacted the police. When the police arrived, my daughter's dad was arrested and taken to jail. I'm not, like I said, not going to get into the details. I really don't remember all of the details, but what I do remember isn't good, and I just don't, it's not really that important. So, yeah. So I get back in contact with my boyfriend. I find out that the Diet app was a secret app that blocked people certain numbers without that person's knowledge. It was like a whole secret app, and I just did some research, and that's what I found out what it was, which my daughter's biological dad was pretty smart to do that. He knew what my boyfriend meant to me, and he, I believe, felt threatened by that. So now, like I said, I got back in contact with my boyfriend. We are visiting each other because we're only an hour away. And one day at work, I go into my regular shift. I'm working for minimum wage, which at the time was $7.25. So I'm working minimum wage, and I'm just not very happy with my life and what's going on, and missing out on that opportunity to go to school. And I was talking to a shift leader, and she was in her 40s, I believe, but she just began to express to me how she wished she had done more with her life, how she's tired of working so hard, and just expressing that she wasn't very happy where she was in her life. And it just dawned on me. It was like, oh my goodness, I don't want this to be me, because I realized I was just working to pay my bills. I was only making ends meet to pay my rent and to pay for daycare. So that's not how I wanted to live my life. I knew I had to get back into school, and ASAP. So I knew I was going to go back to school the following semester. But yeah, so my grandpa comes and he helps me move back to Illinois. He's packing my U-Haul up again. My boyfriend comes down from Georgia and he's helping pack my U-Haul. The whole time he's really salty about it. He's really mad. He's doing it, but he was really mad because he didn't want me to move back. He didn't understand why I moved to Georgia to not move where he was. He let me know, like, hey, if you stay, my family will help you. Which his family, I loved his family. His family was super supportive and super kind to me. And I feel like they would have helped me, but I didn't want to be dependent on a man. I knew that my education was very important. After this experience, it was just very traumatic for me, and I didn't want to depend on a man. He wasn't even all the way stable himself. So I just didn't see how that was going to work. I told him, we both knew we wanted to get married to each other one day. But I expressed to him, like, hey, you're going to have to wait until I finish my degree. Like, I know for a fact my grandparents and my aunt are supportive, and they're going to help me finish my degree. So yeah, I didn't want to be dependent on him. I moved back to Illinois, and we continued to have this long distance relationship. I'll just say as well that my boyfriend, he was a good guy, and we just didn't see eye to eye. Like, he wanted this for me, I wanted that for me, and there was no compromising with that. So I find myself moving back in with my grandparents. Now I'm back in the same place I was months ago, only thousands of dollars, like, not in debt, but I just wasted a bunch of money. I felt like it was a life lesson for me. And that's what happened with this story time. So we did continue the relationship, my boyfriend and I. Like I said, he knew that I had cheated on him. He had cheated on me. We forgave each other. We decided that we were still going to be in this long distance relationship. If you want to know what happens next, stay tuned for the next storytime video. And like I said, we can make this a series called Whitney Wednesdays, where we just do this and just talk about things and talk about life. I hope someone who's watching this can just get something out of it. And I just want to thank y'all for watching me and supporting me. I'll catch you in my next one.